On Thursday evening of this past week, my wife, Holly Atkinson, and I attended a solo recital by the pianist Michael Brown. He performed 4 etudes by Claude Debussy and Franz Schubert's Piano Sonata in D major. I found the performance unexpectedly satisfying and delightful, especially given the age of the pianist. My guess is that he's in his early to mid-20s. Most of the time, musicians distinguish themselves at an early age by dazzling with technique and astonishing with mastery of the instrument. Michael Brown passes muster on these counts, but the unexpected aspect of his playing lies in the interpretive subtlety with which he deploys his technical mastery. As a pianist, he has already developed a distinctive musical voice. The critical response to Michael Brown affirms his talent. He's won numerous competitions both as a pianist and as a composer, played in notable concert halls and music festivals across the country, received coaching from leading international pianists and conductors, and been lauded by the New York Times and Gramophone magazine. In his copious free time, he's completing a double master's degree at Juilliard. I didn't have time after the recital to ask Michael Brown the question that was on my mind. How much does he practice? I wondered. As it turns out, I found the answer elsewhere. In Malcolm Gladwell's book titled Outliers, The Story of Success, Gladwell describes the 10,000-hour theory, originally proposed by the neurologist Daniel Levitan. According to this theory, top musicians, athletes, and chess players become masters in their field if they accumulate 10,000 hours of practice by age 20. The landmark study on this topic examined violinists at the Academy of Music in Berlin. Students in the study were classified into 3 groups: stars, who had the potential to become world-class soloists; students who were merely very good; and a third group identified as proficient. All started playing violin at around age 5, and for the first few years they all practiced 2 or 3 hours a week. After age 8, however, substantial differences emerged in the amount of time they devoted to practice. By age 20, the stars had practiced a total of 10,000 hours, the very good violinists 8,000 hours, and the proficient group 4,000 hours. The same researchers studied amateur and professional pianists with similar results. Gladwell also cites the Beatles as a case in point. In their early days, especially during their time in Hamburg, Germany, the band played about 8 hours a night, 7 days a week. By the time they became famous, the Fab Four had already performed about 1,200 live concerts. If each concert represents 8 hours of rehearsal and performance, the math works out to 9,600 hours of practice before they became famous. Gladwell concludes, once a musician has a certain level of ability, the thing that distinguishes one performer from another is how hard he or she works. That's it. On my way to Michael Brown's piano recital on Thursday evening, I dropped by the Mount Sinai School of Medicine for a lecture by Dr. Patricia Bloom titled Meditation as Medicine: What Neuroscience Has to Teach Us About Health and Happiness. She spoke about how our modern lifestyle triggers the body's stress response, that ancient fight or flight mechanism designed to help us survive times of physical danger. Today, most of us find ourselves continually under stress, and the mechanism designed to save us is now killing us, literally. One of the best ways to turn off the body's stress response and turn on the relaxation response is through the practice of meditation. Over the past decade, researchers have been studying people who practice mindfulness, the deep form of awareness developed through disciplines such as meditation and prayer. The researchers have discovered that mindfulness literally changes the human brain. In particular, mindfulness develops the brain's capacity for experiencing happiness and fulfillment. In other words, the ancient sages who counseled us to practice the disciplines of attentiveness and gratitude knew what they were talking about after all. Enlightenment isn't the process of acquiring specialized knowledge. It's the discipline of following a daily spiritual practice. The bottom line is this: if you want to excel at playing the piano, you need to practice the piano. If you want to feel happy and fulfilled, you need to practice mindfulness. If you want to experience enlightenment and thereby enjoy a sense of meaning and purpose, you need to practice your faith. Which means what exactly? Usually we talk about the practice of religion. What does it mean to practice your faith? What's the difference between faith and religion? In traditional terms, religion has usually been understood as a set of beliefs or a body of doctrine which believers are called upon to accept as true. These beliefs are typically described in an inspired scripture and compiled into an authoritative creed. The liberal tradition in theology, initiated by Friedrich Schleiermacher in the late 18th century and clarified by William James in his lectures on religion at the dawn of the 20th century, insists that religion is not mainly a set of beliefs. Rather, religion is first and foremost a way of life. In my view, religion is the collection of external forms that constitute this way of life. Sacred spaces where we find refuge, music that gladdens our spirit, stories to restore our courage, symbols to remind us of commitments we have made, and daily rituals to renew our resolve. The meaning of the word religion traces back to a Latin verb meaning to bind. Early monastic Christians were called religious because they had taken sacred vows and were bound by solemn orders. This early form of the word religion confirms that religion is a way of life. Here's the point. If religion is the journey, then faith is the compass. As many of you know, I describe faith as a leap of the moral imagination that connects the world as it is to the world as it might become. Faith looks at what is and imagines what might be. It is a leap of moral imagination that sets a course for our religious journey. But where does that faith come from? What is its source? Like music or mindfulness, faith comes from practice, a daily spiritual practice that sparks our moral imagination and sets our moral compass. The irony is that the liberal tradition in religion, which rightly frees religion from its dogmatic bondage and insists that religion is a way of life, has often been lax when it comes to spiritual practice. It is my deep conviction, however, that if we intend to be people of faith, we must practice our faith. Many of you share this view. During our recent strategic planning process, you expressed a hunger for a deeper spiritual experience. Many newcomers and new members express a similar desire. We instinctively know that faith needs practice. So does religion, of course, which is the sum total of everything we do on the journey. Come to church, take a class, feed the homeless, advocate for nuclear disarmament, and so on. The practice of faith is a specialized experience during which we imagine a better world and set our moral compass to reach it.